Who's ready for a late afternoon, early evening, impromptu, random return to YouTube from yours truly, Jeremy Branch? It's been a long time. I was just now actually looking at the update or upload date. That's what I'm trying to say for the last video that I did, and it was the movie. Uh, what was it called? Talk to Me, and it was like 16 to 18 months ago, which is wild. What's up, Leo? So yeah, I went over to Matt Lane's house on Friday. It's the first time I'd seen those guys in quite a while, right? And it kind of inspired me to want to do a live again real quick. Just got some positive reinforcement from some longtime viewers and listeners, and it meant a lot. So I just was like, why don't I do that? I have the technology, I have it available, and I could just kind of do a stream. Now, doesn't mean I have some big plan for return. Uh-oh. Keyframes are not being sent often enough. That's bad. See, this is what happens when you go out of practice. If y'all notice anything real bad, let me know. But yeah, this doesn't mean I'm planning some big return or that I'm going to say, come up with a schedule and start sticking to it or anything like that. But I did just want to do it this one time. Hey, what's up, Prime? I might. I think about it a lot. I always really did enjoy doing it. Been busy for the last nearly 2 years now. Very, very busy. So I am working at my regular day job, which I just got off at 4:30. In that store, I write ad copy. I do voice over kind of like narration kind of thing for in-store audio advertising. I started a company with my wife called Branch Advertising where we do everything from like manage people's social media accounts to create video content for them. I did some like campaign ads, commercial signage, all sorts of like marketing stuff. If you have a business and you need somebody to print you some business cards or flyers or any number of things, design a logo for you, any of that kind of stuff. And that's been great. It's not enough to sustain me as of right now. We are building our list of clients and things are going good. But in the meantime, I'm trying to make money. So I'm working Adergy. I'm running this business. And then I also deliver for Instacart and gonna start doing Uber and Lyft because there's good extra money there. All that to say, I don't have a whole lot of free time. I'm actually also working on a documentary called The Plunge. And I hate to talk about things before they are super far into development. And the main reason why is because, like, a million things could happen in the meantime, but it's about pinball and the kind of resurgence in the community around pinball. So, I guess keep an eye out for that. I'm going to be screening it at the film festival this year at Pensacon. Absolutely. Yeah. That's kind of how I feel about it, Leo. Do it when I feel like it. I didn't see a clear path to, you know, wealth when I was doing it, and I did it for a very long time anyways because I enjoy it. But I don't want to be like burdened down with like, oh my, I gotta get this movie review out the day the movie comes out. And you'll be able to see a bit more about that as far as like it's been a while since I these things that I'm going to talk about, they didn't come out yesterday, but I haven't had a chance to talk about them. So there's just a couple things I was excited to talk about because y'all know I've always said movies are terrible, and we'll talk about that as well. But I've always liked to highlight the stuff that like moves the needle for me, the stuff that I'm actually into, because there are little rays of light through all of the barrage of endless franchise movies and kind of just doing the same thing over and over and over again, you know? Um, so, anyways, I got a couple of topics that I would like to discuss. Just kind of wanted to get that little bit of preamble out of the way up at the top. Oh, so on Friday, I went over and I saw Matt and Holden and Prime, and Rich was there, and Jenna was there. It was really good to visit with everyone. And the reason that we came together was to watch Mike Tyson just beat Jake Paul to a bloody pulp. It's what a lot of people would have thought was going to happen. It's what a lot of people thought was going to happen. I personally did not believe that that is the way that things were going to play out. Hey there, Welcome to the conversation. So glad to hear from you. It's always a pleasure. Um, I had a feeling, like my heart wanted Tyson to win. My head really thought that Jake was going to win. I mean, there's always that that X factor, right? Mike Tyson could have came in round one and just hit him with one uppercut, and it been lights out for him. By round three, there was no shot that that was going to happen, and so it was brutal, man. It was brutal to see it happen. Father Time is still undefeated, and it's just part of it. Um, it's an interesting thing the way that people just decided that Jake Paul was the villain ahead of it, and that meant that Mike Tyson was going to win. Oh, we want to see this YouTuber get knocked out, so that's what's going to happen, and that was not the case. Jay Wolfie, welcome to the chat. You are literally one of the reasons why I'm here. So thank you very much for being one of the people who kind of inspired me to do this stream. I really am glad you're here because that was a kind of a catalyst for why I'm doing this. So we did have a good time. It did feel nice to have the band back together. Again, schedules are very challenging with fathers who also have jobs and careers and wives, and Matt's busy with his job, and there's just a lot of stuff going on. Everybody's still in contact with each other, still nothing but good vibes for all of those people. um, so yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed doing it. Maybe we'll do something like that again sometime in the future. But Tyson's 58 years old. I mean, that's really all that can be said about it. Is this is not prime of his life, Mike Tyson. This is not even 1994 Mike Tyson that was gassed when he started biting Evander Holyfield on the ear in like 1994. This is like far outside of his prime, plus 2 decades. It's wild. Like 58, not ancient. I'm not I know people who are almost 58. I'm not going to say that they're like elderly, right? But at the same time, in fighter years, as an athlete, like Tom Brady is such an anomaly that he was able to QB like into his 40s. So, and I know people might say, Jeremy, you're not qualified to talk about this. But that's the joke, man, right? Nobody's qualified to talk about most of the things that they talk about yet. Here we are, talking about things that we may not know all that much about. I do movie reviews, for God's sakes. I don't know nothing about making movies. It's actually one of the reasons why I'm doing this documentary. It's like, man, I've spent a lot of time being very critical of the whole process, and at the same time, that's the easy part, right? Getting behind the camera and actually making stuff. That's the hard part. So no, I've never boxed Mike Tyson. No, I was never a professional MMA fighter, but I have eyes. You know what I mean? I've seen fights before. I've watched them for a long time. And you would say for too long, Been on this earth for 4 decades. Been watching boxing for literally all of that time. So, yeah. Yeah, just wanted to kind of I called it play by play, dude. Like I'm Nostradamus. You can run it back. Like this is what's gonna happen. This is when it's gonna happen. If this doesn't happen, this is the way that it's gonna play out. Lo and behold. Whoa, I felt like I just had a hole in my lip, like something went. The camera angle's a little weird. I don't know if I like this side profile thing. It just is what it is. Obviously, it is what it is. This is the way that it's set up right now. Maybe I'll switch it around next time. 1997. Excuse me, you caught me there. You caught me there. 1997. So well past his prime. When did Tyson start boxing? 1983, 1984 as a professional. Mike Tyson's career. Competed between 85 and 2024. Okay, so a little later than I thought. Um, but I remember even seeing it back then. Like we were watching the pay per view, and everybody was like, "Oh, he just doesn't look like he used to." But then again, these are like old heavyweight champs. They weren't the current run of guys that were like dominating at the time. Holden says the fight just made me sad. Yeah, I get a little bit of that. There is that sense of like, that's where we're all headed. Eventually, we're all going to be Mike Tyson, which means basically dead. But I came to terms with that. Like, I knew that it was going to be hard to watch. The Roy Jones and Mike Tyson match was hard to watch for similar reasons. It's like you see these people at the peak of physical health and conditioning, and then you see them when they're not that anymore, and it's just like, oh, my heroes have fallen. But in another perspective, it's actually pretty brilliant that he was able to get out there and do it at all. I mean, I should hope that I can get beat up by a 27-year-old YouTuber when I'm in my late the twilight of my life. Anyways, so yeah, that's a little bit about that's kind of just my hot 2 minute take on the inevitability of Mike Tyson going down. It was really nice of Jake Paul not to kill him, actually, which isn't something that I think I thought I would ever be saying. So this year, 2024, has been a wild ride if you're a horror fan. I'm not going to go into depth about all of these movies because there's been a lot of them, but 2024 is just like really put good mainstream horror out in front of lots of people that maybe weren't necessarily as activated prior to this year. Like, who would have thought Terrifier, that franchise, would be a not just a success but a massive hit? If you went into Spirit Halloween this year, you saw Art the Clown. You saw Art the Clown merchandise from Hot Topic to Spencer's to Spirit Halloween. That guy is, I think, more iconic than the movies, but it's crazy because I want to say Terrifier too, and fact check me if I'm wrong here. I'm just kind of firing from the hip, but I think the first Terrifier, the second Terrifier movie was like $50,000 budget. I think the first one was like $25,000, $30,000, which means the second one was probably a bit more than that. But these were just like made by this independent filmmaker with a love for sleaze that all of a sudden just struck gold with Art the Clown. Thanks in large part to David Howard Thornton's portrayal of this character, and he instantly became a horror icon. Which who doesn't love that? I feel like the last it's debatable. I feel like the last real horror icon that I could point to maybe Billy from Saw, but it's certainly not Jigsaw. So Billy the puppet isn't really like the killer in the same way that Chucky or later on Ghostface would become, right? I feel like Ghostface is the last of those, and then like yeah, Sam from Trick or Treat, also iconic, but not quite on that level of like the pantheon of instantly recognizable horror villains. And I think Art the Clown has reached this, not the Mount Rushmore, but kind of in that same pantheon. So I don't love the Terrifier movies. I'm gonna be honest. I've seen all three of them, and then I've also seen All Hallows Eve. Art the Clown as a character is very entertaining and engaging. The movies are pretty sadistic, and I always like to champion the idea that horror movies are actually really empathetic because they're one of the few genres where like murder is portrayed as something that is violent and has weight to it, right? Like you see James Bond or Captain America murder 50 people in a movie and you applaud it. You see, say similar, like one death can have a massive impact in a certain kind of movie. But like with slasher movies and now with Terrifier, which is very much kind of carrying the torch for those types of films, you're kind of going to watch people die. And I don't, as people would argue, that's what you're going to all horror movies for. I don't feel the same way. I feel like the Scream franchise in particular was as strong as it was for as long as it was, thanks to Nev Campbell as Sid. And sometimes, you're there to see the people overcome the obstacles. And fortunately, Terrifier 2 kind of pivoted into the direction of having sympathetic characters, and Sienna, played by I'm not going to be able to think of her name right now, but the actress that plays Sienna is a really good addition to that franchise that kind of gives you a through line and somebody to kind of glom onto. But hey, what's up, Martin McKeever? Hey, what's up, Dan? Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm trying not to engage the chat too much, but I really do appreciate y'all coming by. It means a lot. I will circle back to it every couple minutes or so, but I had some topics that I want to discuss, and I doubt y'all just want me to spend the whole time being like, "Oh, hey, you, this is that," you know what I mean? But maybe you would prefer that, but too fucking bad. You know what I mean? Too bad. Maybe I'll do that if y'all tell me to. I don't know. I don't know. I just lost my nerve there. I've got no conviction, people. So, okay, list of great 2024 horror films. We got Heretic, which was very recent, kind of a movie about the conflicting ideologies and the view of having faith versus not having faith. I watched a YouTube video of this girl who was an ex-Mormon, and she had a substantially different takeaway than I did about what the messaging of the movie was. Granted, messaging is oftentimes subtext; it isn't spelled out for you, so whatever a movie means to you, I think is valid. I don't think there's any wrong way to eat a Reese's. But she tended to come down on the other side of the coin than I did, which is fascinating because just different ideological or relationships with religion. But maybe as an ex Mormon, she viewed it through a certain lens. So I'm not gonna bury the lead on that. Y'all check it out. DJ Alex, yeah, absolutely. Smile 2 was another one that's on my list. I thought it was very good. So I thought Smile 1 or Smile was like either the best of the shit horror movies or the worst of the good ones. It like hit right there in that perfect middle ground where I'm not sure if it was good or bad. Like Saoirse Bacon, she's good as the lead. It's deals with themes of grief and trauma, which is like very typical of A24, but it wasn't quite on the level of most of what comes out of A24. Not that there hasn't been some stinkers, but I say all that to say I had high expectations about Smile. All the best scares were shown in the trailer, which always frustrates me, but shame on me for watching trailers. You know that that's kind of a part of the experience when you do that. Um, but when it came to Smile 2, just that the opening scene, so different from anything that we saw in the previous film. It really, to me, showed that the director was like kind of flexing and saying, "Hey, look what I can also do. Not only do I do horror, but I can do some really tense, like thriller action scene." And then we're kind of off to the races. They up the gore quotient. Like there's some really horrific imagery in this, which I also think can be attributed to something like Terrifier, where it's like, oh crap, now we all gotta up the ante. We gotta give people something that it will truly shock them. For a long time, especially like with the Friday the 13th movies, like the MPAA, chopped them down to where the kills were almost didn't even get shown on screen. But Smile 2 really takes the violence to a next level. I thought that the premise was absurd enough that there's a like a winking self-awareness to it that I thought was, lacking for the most part from the original. I think there were little hints of that shine through, but there's a bit more of a dark humor in Smile 2. So I thought that one was good. The Substance is one of my favorite movies of the year. Slip God, what's up? Dante S. What's up, everybody? King of the Hills 34, Mark McKeever. My goodness. Um, what was I talking? Oh yeah, The Substance, one of my favorite movies of the year. It's funny for a movie called The Substance. It's got very little of that, but a whole heaping of style. I was telling somebody that, probably arguing in a comment section if I had to guess, and they were like, if you think that it didn't have any substance, then you didn't understand the subtext. And it's like, oh man, you must think really lowly of me to not be able to know what the movie The Substance was about. It is not subtle. You know what I mean? It's not like using a scalpel precision to really explore these myopic themes and like things that you got to really look under a microscope to know what it's talking about. It's not that kind of movie. It's smashing you over the head with like the beauty standards, aging in Hollywood, blah. And I loved it. I thought it was great. I feel like it works more as kind of a trashy throwback to movies like Society and maybe some Cronenberg thrown in there, but through the lens of like this neon soaked, very stylized view of Hollywood and just the world in general. I thought it was cool. A lot of fun. Actually, rewatched it last night. Was hoping that my wife would really get something out of it. She was out the door within like I don't know, 30 minutes, and I was like, you got to stick with it till the end to have an informed opinion. And she's like, oh no, I don't like it. I'm like, fair enough. Fair enough. It happens. We don't all like the same things. I saw Speak No Evil, which was a remake of a movie that I did not see that I heard really good things about. Speak No Evil starred James McAvoy, and it had man, I'm not able to pull names today. Scoot McNairy. It had the girl that was in Blade Runner 2049. Some other people. One couple and their kid goes to visit with another couple and their kid that they met on vacation, and things aren't what they might appear to be. It's really a thriller with some really good black comedy and dark, suspenseful humor throughout it that I thought was great. And dude, James McAvoy is just scary. There's not really much comparison to be made between Trap and Speak No Evil, but it made me think about McAvoy's performance in Split versus Josh Hartnett, who was very good in his performance in Trap. And Trap was just dog shit, man. I mean, I'll always watch a Shyamalan movie because you don't know what he's gonna do, but man, woof, what a piece of shit that was. So of all the good ones I'm talking about, it ain't Trap, but Speak No Evil's good. Gotta give a shout out to Immaculate, Sydney Sweeney's produced film about a nun going to a convent over in Italy. And I also have to give a shout out to the first Omen, which is about a young nun from America going over to a convent in Italy. And maybe there are dark forces at hand that want to make these nuns pregnant. And I ain't talking about me, baby. I'm not talking about Jeremy Branch. No, no, no. Talking about something much worse. Sorry, I got a bad habit. I got bad habits. I quit smoking. Not anyway sponsored by this, but just if you. Anyways, shout out to Strange Darling and Blink Twice. Kind of similar to the last one. Like this one would make First Omen and Immaculate. These would make a good double feature. In an interesting way, I feel like they're almost two sides of the same coin. Blink Twice is Zoe Kravitz's directorial debut. It stars Channing Tatum and a bunch of people: Christian Slater, Simon Rex from that 1980s YouTube song back in the day. Super funny. Um, and it's about a Diddy party, pretty much. I didn't think about it in such explicit terms. And then all the Diddy stuff comes out, and you're like, yeah, they're all wearing white. It's a Diddy party, but it's more general than that. And then Strange Darling is like the opposite end of the political rhetoric in some ways. A nice subversion of what you're thinking, and just a lot of fun. Just a lot of fun. Just a good time at the movies. A Quiet Place Day One, also pretty good. I think it was a bit divisive because the trailers made it look like it was going to be like an alien invasion movie, and while it is that, it's really more like focused on character journeys and a nice little arc for a character. And I thought it was good. I enjoyed all three of those movies. I feel like people really didn't care for Quiet Place 2 mostly, but I thought it was good. I thought it was good. Abigail was fun also. Abigail by Radio Silence, the guys that did the last Scream. Oh, well, yeah, Scream 6 and 7, or 5 and 6, excuse me. It's about the ballerina vampire girl. Would have been a way better movie if you didn't know anything about it going in, but how do you sell that movie? You can't. You're trying to reach horror audiences, and you can't do that without being like, oh, by the way, and that ballerina girl, 45 minutes into this movie, she's going to become a vampire. But of course, you already know that because you saw the trailers. That's why you're here. In a Violent Nature, I did see that, and I thought it was good. I thought it was good. I appreciate what it was. It didn't make for a very exciting movie going experience, I'll say that. But that's okay, you know? Like I said, I thought it was clever. It just wasn't very engaging to me. Maybe I'll talk about that in a separate video because I do got some stuff to say about that. Take a moment to talk about how Deadpool 3 was trash. Hot take. That was fun. Late Night with the Devil. Late Night with the Devil with David Dastmalchian. That was fun. I enjoyed that one. Had a good time. Had a good time. If you're in here, please click the like button. Help your boy out. He could use all the likes he can get. You know what I mean? It's what a lot of people say about me. Jeremy, you're very likable. It's what I notice the most when I'm talking to people. They're always like, you are so likable. Matter of fact, I'm going to give you a like next time I'm on YouTube. And I'm like, thanks. I appreciate you for doing that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate you clicking that button. Late Night with the Devil was cool though. It was kind of like a throwback to those 1970s late night talk shows with a little paranormal satanic panic stuff thrown in there. So there's another satanic panic movie that came out this year. And then Alien Romulus. Alien Romulus. Much anticipated sequel. I mean, how many Alien movies have there been? Only like a good 40 or 50, you know? So every new year brings a new Alien movie. And goddamn, I wanted to like Alien Romulus. Really wanted to like Alien Romulus, dude. Hello, I'm a skeleton arm. I really wanted to like Alien Romulus. And there's a lot to like about it. The production design was great. It definitely harkened back to those early Ridley Scott, well, the early Ridley Scott movie, as if there was a bunch of them. There was that one, and then there was the ones that were not as great. But I liked Prometheus. I thought it was interesting. I thought Covenant did some interesting things. I really liked Andy, the synthetic in this version of Alien. I thought Kaylee Spaney was good. There were things that I did like about it, but nothing killed my goodwill more than get away from her, you bitch. Like, you took so much of the goodwill that you had earned up until that point, and in that moment, it took 4 words. Get away from her, you. 6 words. It took 6 words to take my score down a substantial amount. No, it wasn't just that. I also thought the fact that they felt the need to use Ian Holm was weird. Like, we all love Ian Holm, right? Hobbit and stuff. But his estate said it was okay. Well, your estate doesn't speak for you. It's just distasteful. And of course, leave it to Disney to be the ones to do that. Leave it to Disney to be the ones to do that. It's just stop. They could be a Ian Holm looking android, right? We saw multiple Davids and the other ones, but it didn't have to be. I mean, there's an Ash and there's a David, and they were different, so they don't all have to be the same. So why did they do that? Because they're gross. Because they lack integrity. That's why they did it. But there was a lot good about the movie. Like, I thought the boring shit was great. Like the whole stuff that took place on the outpost. Thought it was cool. I liked how they were like indentured servants and they just kept getting their contracts extended and they were never going to go anywhere. But and I like Alexandra Aja. I think he's a good filmmaker. There's just little things like you have to nerf the creatures to put 100 of them in a set piece. What do you mean by that, Jeremy? Well, if this is indeed the perfect organism, then why the fuck are they dying by the dozens, just all getting blasted apart? If you were to say, Jeremy, what is the more perfect organism, a xenomorph or Sigourney Weaver? Come on, man. Seems pretty cut and dry to me. I mean, with the Marines, it's like, yeah, they're like trained with ammunition and guns and like know stuff about military strategy. But when there's like 100 face huggers and they're all jumping and getting swatted with stuff and like just getting the shit kicked out of them, and then there's xenomorphs just getting blasted down by the dozens. Um, it makes them seem not like the perfect organism. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. We still alive in here? How we feeling? I know it's not horror, but Transformers 1 was an enjoyable ride. So much fun. Marketing was such crap for that movie. I heard the good things about it. I'll check that out. I'll check that out. So yeah, that's a couple of the horror movies that I saw. Some of them I highly recommend. Looking at that list, I'd say you gotta see Strange Darling. Speak No Evil's really good. The first Omen surprised the hell out of me. Terrifier 3 is a rough watch. Like, if you're just let's go see a horror movie tonight, and then you walk into a Terrifier movie, I can't imagine what that does to people with delicate sensibilities. They're so disgusting. They're just so freaking disgusting, dude. Hey, Amy. Good to hear from you. Glad you're here. Talked a little bit about Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. We're going to talk a little bit about car dealerships, and then I'm going to give my thoughts on season 1 of The Penguin. While you're here, make sure to click that like button. Really helps my fragile ego. Oh boy. Car dealerships. So my wife and I, we've been looking at cars for a couple of months now. She finally pulled the trigger, man, and she earned that vehicle. She drove her Toyota Highlander. It was a 2010. She drove it for that long. She never really had any issues with it, but just, dings happen, scratches happen, paint stuff happens, or driver's side window was getting a little wonky. So she decided she wanted to get a new vehicle, and I was down. So we drove out to Birmingham, Alabama. And the reason we drove to Birmingham, it's not because it's right up the road. It's like a 3 hour and 45-minute drive up there to the Hyundai dealership. But this Hyundai dealership had like the best selection anywhere around. They had so many in their inventory, so many on the lot, that we wanted to go and just kind of browse and check it out. And since then, well, I should have done it beforehand, but hindsight, you know how it is. I've only bought 2 new cars. So like, and it was one of them was a really long time ago. One of them was more recent. But you forget what a freaking nightmare experience it is, you know? You forget what a nightmare experience it is. We went out there, Victoria had a specific car in mind, but because they had so many on the lot, we're going to just kind of walk down the aisles and look at all they got, check out the different features, maybe open it up, look at the interior. But they want to get you in the funnel the moment that you walk in the door. So they make you sit down. They ask you what you want to spend on your monthly budget. Don't answer any of this stuff, by the way. Just be like, no, we just want to look at the car. We just want to look at the car. Victoria kind of tells them what she wants to spend monthly, tells them the model that she wants to get, kind of talks a little bit about the options. And they're like, we got the perfect one for you. Let us go get it and we'll drive it around and you can take it for a test drive. And we should have been like, no, just take us to it. We just want to look at it. That's what we should have done. Because psychologically, there's like the rule of reciprocity thing where if you feel like they're doing something for you, then you feel like you must do something for them in return. It's just human nature. So the second they get you in that first car, they got you trapped in their freaking web of deception and disgusting behavior. Hate it, dude. Hate it. So they pull her out of the first car. It's not the car Victoria wanted. It's not the one that she asked to look at. It's the same model, but it's a different color, different interior, different features. All right, great. We like it. Let's take a look at the next one. All right, cool. Look, give me a minute. Just sit here and we'll pull it around for you. While you're sitting there, some other guy comes up. Oh, you guys are from Pensacola? I'm from Pensacola. And me and Victoria, we got trust issues, man. We're looking at each other like, this motherfucker's sitting here telling us he's from Pensacola. And he looked up our info and just thought that he could, get one over on us and say, "Oh, I'm from Pensacola too." And I was like, "Really? Where at?" And he starts kind of waffling, and I didn't believe him. I was like, "You really from Pensacola? You just saying that because you looked us up online and you know our information?" And he proceeded to find his parents' address and show it to me and stuff. I was like, "All right, I'll give you that." But just back and forth. We were there for 8 hours. I want a car. Awesome. They could have sold us 2 cars that day, but they're effing around and just constantly putting us through, because what they want to do, and this is true, you can look this up, they want to break you like you're in freaking Guantanamo Bay, dude. They want to break you down until you are so exhausted and so confused by all of the things that they've thrown at you that you're just like, "I don't know, just give me I'll sign the thing." At the end, not at the end, but towards the end, um, we're talking about trade-in on the value for a Highlander, and they're like, "All right, we just need you to sign this document." Sign the document. As the guy's walking away, I was like, "What did we just sign?" And Victoria's like, "I don't know." And I kind of Googled the document, and it's like, "Oh yeah, basically you're signing to say that you agree to whatever money they offer you for the car, and now they're going to hold your car hostage." They take off with the keys, they take off with the Highlander, and now we're stuck there. And at this point, we're mad. We're like looking around like, are we crazy? Are we insane? Because I'm about to flip this desk. You know what I mean? And I was like, "Where did you take her car?" And they're like, "Oh, we just took it around the corner to look at it." And Victoria's like, "Do you have my keys?" And they're like, "Yeah, yeah, they got your keys over there." And she's like, "I want my keys." And he's like, "All right, yeah, 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 no problem." And she's like, "No, go get my keys." So he was like, "I don't want to make y'all uncomfortable. Let me go get your keys. I don't want y'all to be uncomfortable." As if we were that we were just randomly uncomfortable. It's like, no, dude, we are responding to these freaking tactics that are wild. Like, if you think about what's happening, they're holding your car hostage until it's wild, dude. And then they lowball you. They give you like half. We'll give you like, I don't know, 25% of what your car's worth. You got to fight with them. I think they like it. You just get real mad, be an asshole to them. By the time we got out of there, Victoria got an awesome new car. Because of some issues that they had with the one that my wife had agreed to, just out of simple compromise, we were not super stoked, but we were going to deal with it. And then it turned out that particular model had like a recall because the sunroof was like randomly malfunctioning. And we were so close to signing that the manager then came in and was like, "Hey, you know what? We'll actually give you the one that you initially came in for 8 hours ago at the same price as this one that was not as nice as it." So we felt like at the end they kind of sweetened the pot a little bit. But if you can buy a car online, just do that. Just do that. Because they're wild. And I kind of have to respect the hustle. They're salesmen, that's what they do. But as I'm respecting it, I'm also hating them on a personal level. So, anyways, The Penguin, HBO's most recent flagship series based on the brilliant Matt Reeves' The Batman movie. I know that the Batman was not everybody's favorite Batman, and that's okay. There's different things for different people. I grew up on the Tim Burton Batman movie, so I have a soft spot for that one. Wouldn't say it's the best. I thought the Christopher Nolan Batman movies were like groundbreaking. I also thought the last thing that the world needed was another Batman movie when Matt Reeves' Batman movie came out. And then I saw it, and I was just in love. I love the slow, methodical pace and the detective noir aspects of it. I love the kind of way that it explores radicalization of fringe groups over the internet, and the way that Batman's persona was actually leading to an uprising that he was going to have to be the one that stood up against, not realizing that his tactics of uh, I don't want to use the overused word, but his brand of justice actually inspired the wrong kind of feelings in other people, and him having to kind of explore that And I think Holden mentioned it to me when I was talking to him. Like, there's an actual arc of Batman within Matt Reeves' Batman movie, and that's not usually the case. That's why a lot of times they're more about the villain than they are Batman, because he's static. He's like, we see him where he's at, and so he doesn't really have room to grow within those movies. But I feel like there was a lot of growth within the Batman. Thought that just that I love the more mobster side of Gotham, then I love the Rogues Gallery. And God, if we didn't need another Batman movie, we certainly didn't need another Joker. I like the way that they handled the Batman. So, needless to say, I was very excited. I thought Colin Farrell and the Penguin was incredible, and I was looking forward to seeing HBO do a more like crime drama spin on the mythos. Dude, there's been so many Batman related TV series without Batman in it that if you haven't watched this, I wouldn't fault you for it. Like, I would get it. You know, there was Gotham. There was that show about Commissioner. Oh, that was Gotham was about Gordon. There was the one about Alfred. Teen Titans. Like, the list just goes on and on. And I never really watched any of those because why? You know what I mean? Um, yeah, Ben Affleck was pretty good as Batman. Um, but the Penguin was like special. Like, as good as I thought it was gonna be, it's almost better than that. And as good as Colin Farrell was in the framework of a 2.5 hour Batman movie, getting 8 episodes to really explore Oz Cobb as a villain, but also as a complicated man with his own kind of wants and desires and insecurities. And ultimately, what happens a lot, and it happens with the Joker all the time, is that people see these characters and not only do they root for them, but they identify with them. And that's a lot of what Matt Reeves' The Batman was about. And what I like the most about the Penguin is it was able to draw on our sympathies towards Oz. Like, he has identifiable things that make you feel empathy for him. But this wasn't to create an anti hero or a villain we could root for. This was to create a character that you just want to see Batman beat the absolute piss out of the next time we see him. And I thought that was brilliant. This isn't the birth of an anti-hero or a villain you can root for. This is the true birth of a villain, somebody that you should hate. And yeah, you root for him throughout the series at different times. But I was Team Sophia the whole time, dude. Especially after her little like bottle episode in Arkham. How could you not be? Like, she was such an interesting character. Christine Milioti did such a good job. Just all the way around, the performances were incredible. I'm not really going to get into spoilers. I don't feel the need to. I think many of you have seen it, and if you haven't, I don't want to ruin it for you. But it was just like top tier storytelling, very true to what the kind of crime sagas are. You know, this kind of prestige Sunday night spot. Mm, started with The Sopranos, and I think that there's a parallel there. You know, starts with Sopranos. Here we have the Penguin in that same spot. It's dark and moody. It's funny at times. It introduces us to characters like Victor that you really root for and again empathize with. And it's a very dark show. It does some things that were bold and just a show of performances all the way around. Whoever played Oz's mom was so good. I don't think I'd ever seen her in anything before. And then also his mistress, um, 2 or 3 episodes in, I was like, she looks exactly like Oz's mom, which was very intentional and interesting because they're not the same ethnicity, they're not the same age, but there's something in their eyes. Maybe it's the way that the stylists and the makeup team did their makeup, but like you can see, like, oh, Oz is trying to find a woman to be his mommy because he's got some very deep rooted mommy issues, as does Tony Soprano, you know? And she was just like feeding the darkness in him. But I love how it shows how the flood and the disaster that happened in Gotham at the end of the Batman has this ripple effect, and it creates these power vacuums. And then we see the Falcones and the Maronis, and the way that everybody's kind of trying to seize power at an opportunity when the city's at its most vulnerable. And Penguin's got these aspirations of like being a benevolent gangster, right? Like he wants to provide for the working class and be like a hero, almost like a lot of the what do you call them? The union guys back in the day, you know, like how mobsters would always ingratiate themselves with the community. So even if the politicians try to paint them as public enemy number one, they're like doing food drives and all these things on the side, fighting for workers' rights, where like the common man, the blue collar folks that actually are like the lifeblood of any city, any community, um, can't help but kind of identify with these guys. But what's interesting about that is it almost might frame it in a way where you don't realize that even that is self-serving. Every good deed that Oswald does, or Oz, excuse me, he does it in service of this greater picture of elevating himself. And you know, that's kind of the thing about altruism, is like if you do a good deed but it's only to serve your ego, is it really a good deed? And I always come down on the side of yes. Um, but I like that it explores why people are motivated to do things that seem like they're for the good reasons. Because I don't really believe that Oz is for the good of Gotham or the people who have been stepped on, like he says. But it's a really good way of selling his brand of villainy, and just thought it was really smart. I just thought it was really smart. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it. We go back. Hax, what's up? Yeah, it's really me. It's been a long time. Thank you for coming by. Kind of go and scroll through some of the comments real quick. Thank you. Yeah, Leo, it is nice that I'm not smoking. I don't smell like an ashtray anymore. My fingers are never yellow, but you know, Zins aren't great either. But I started on the 6 milligrams. Now I'm down to the 3 milligrams. And the taste is refreshing and great. No, I'm just kidding. Not a sponsor, not a sponsor, but they have helped me out. So I'm scaling back, and it's been very helpful for me. I really do appreciate you all coming by to just chat for a couple of minutes. Mark McKeever says, I thought of you when I heard about the passing of Tony Todd. So many credits to his resume, including some Star Trek roles for Trekkies to enjoy. I'm bummed. Yeah, he was a legend. And I'm always one of the first people to say I can respect a person's work without looking at that person like an idol or a role model. Having met Tony Todd a couple of times and still not being completely willing to come down on the side, he seemed like a genuinely good person. And he did use his influence and his voice to do work for communities that maybe didn't have the resources. He was a very empathetic person. He treated everybody that I ever saw him interact with very well. He was gracious to his fans. He seemed like a really stand-up guy, and I do have several experiences with Tony Todd that are really cool. I only met him in person once, but we did continue to have a casual relationship the way that I do with many of you. Only so I hit him up on Twitter. We DM each other and stuff every once in a while. And I just really liked him. I really liked him. I thought he was great. So yeah, it is a sad passing. But you know, the legacy of some of these people is just so amazing. Like he will be immortalized through the incredible work and performances that he did. Hacks, I explained a little bit at the beginning. I've been around. I really haven't been anywhere different. I've just been super busy. I'm working 3 jobs. I'm working on a short film documentary about pinball. I've been playing in a pinball league over the last 18 months or so. You know, about the last time that I recorded a video was probably when I first started in this pinball league. I got a buddy named Jamie who lives just a couple miles up the road. He's got like 25 pinball machines in his house. He's an ex-fighter pilot. He just kind of devoted a lot of his time and energy into this hobby, and we get to reap the rewards of it. I thought it was really fascinating, like the active community around pinball and how anything you get into, whether it be like snowboarding or videography or pinball or gaming, like there's a thriving subculture within that. And this was like a peek inside that for me. And it's really cool to be a part of it. I'm by no means a good pinball player, but I really do enjoy to do it. So that's what I've mostly been doing is working on this documentary, doing pinball. My buddy Dan, aka Accuracy, he's been helping me with the opening title sequence. It looks incredible. I'm very fortunate to have talented friends around me that are able to kind of help me realize these visions. So that's super cool. It will be premiering hopefully at Pensacon here in the next couple months. That's going down, I believe, in February of 25, and I'm looking forward to seeing it in front of a crowd of people because, as I mentioned at the top, I've spent a lot of time talking about movies and a lot of time being critical about movies, but never really invested the time and the energy into making something of my own. So this has been an interesting experience. I got so much footage, and now I'm trying to craft a narrative out of it and kind of bring it all into a cohesive whole. And it's been a really neat process all the way through. Have you watched the new Venom movie? Any thoughts? 2 out of 10 for me. Um, I have not watched the new Venom movie. I didn't love any of them, so I wasn't super excited about it. But as a completist, I definitely will check it out. Mark McKeever, he has, I mean, everything you can think of. Back to a game like Little Chief, which is like from maybe the early 1970s. He's got one called 8 Ball Deluxe. He's got Tommy, which is from The Who, which is maybe early 1980s. More recently, he's got like oh, by the way, he's also got a RoboCop from like the 80s. He's got The Labyrinth, which is incredible. The toys on it and the lights and the mini games within it are super cool. He's got Game of Thrones. He had a Godzilla game. He's got Adam's Family. He's got, I mean, just all the way down the list. So many cool IP based games. And then also, old school ones that he loved growing up. I really had only played like Attack on Mars or Attack from Mars back in the 90s. The arcade that I used to play at had a couple of games, but I almost steered clear of them. It wasn't my vibe. I was playing the, you know, video games. And I still love those. I actually got this really cool emulator, also not a sponsor, just a couple days ago. It's like a Game Boy, it's got all these games on it. It's a lot of fun. And then I've got like 3 or 4 emulators now, and I play them often. I was playing Mike Tyson's Punch Out before the match to kind of get myself hyped up. So yeah, I will check out the new Venom. I will circle back to it when I get a chance to check it out, and maybe I'll do this again sometime. I really do appreciate everybody for stopping by and being a part of the live stream. If you have any suggestions for things that you want to hear me cover on an upcoming stream, maybe some video topics, I'd love to hear from you. As you can see, I changed the channel name multiple times over the years. I went from from Be Terrible Production to Movies Are Terrible to the Pop Culture Nihilist, and now I'm going by Jeremy G. Branch because it's my name. And if you don't know that I've changed the name of the channel, you wouldn't even know how to find me. So I'm hoping if I just consistently keep it my name, when you get the notification pop up, if you get the notification pop up, you'll be like, hey, that's Jeremy. Let's go see what he's up to. Thank you again very much for stopping by. It means a lot. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. But most importantly, until next time, be terrible. Peace.